If you're looking for a great bathroom exhaust fan and you're planning to install it yourself, I'm going to show you exactly how to get it done. Whether you're installing this Panasonic WhisperFit model or another Panasonic fan that uses the Flex Z fast bracket installation, the process is very similar. Before making this video, I read through hundreds of comments from homeowners installing these fans because I wanted to know where people were getting stuck, and one thing became really clear. The hardest part is understanding this Flex Z fast bracket, and I understand why.
Dude, I don't get this because...
So I built this mock-up ceiling you see behind me. I documented the entire installation from above and below the drywall so you can see exactly what's happening at every step.
Let's start with the ceiling opening. Panasonic includes a cardboard template in the box, so trace it carefully and cut just outside the line, giving yourself working room without making the opening too large. If you're replacing an existing fan, use the old opening as your starting point. Before marking anything, map the duct route. Choose the fan's final position and check for framing, wiring, plumbing, or other obstructions. Then position Panasonic's template, align it with the framing and duct direction, and mark only the additional drywall that needs to be removed. Think first, cut second. I'm starting with the old fan already removed. If yours is still in place, I've linked a separate guide because removing the old housing can be a project of its own.
99% of the fans that you're going to see, they're secured to the joist. What's really nice about the Panasonic
Fast bracket
is that you don't have to set the fan against the joist to secure it. The
fast bracket
becomes the structural part of the system to hold the fan in place. And again, I want to go just beyond where I made my mark. So I've cut my hole. Great. I just want to make sure I clean it up a little bit, make sure my corners are nice and straight. Okay, looks pretty good. So then I want to take my cardboard cutout as a first rough fit. And see, I've got a nice cushion there. I've got some nice space. So step 2, it's time for the most important part of this. Because once you get it in there good and you got it solid, the rest is going to flow. All right. Now, one of the things that I have found to be beneficial is to get the screws in place before you start putting it up into or above the ceiling to start drilling it into the joist. You want to have the screws in place. See how I kind of got them started there? Each of them, 4 of them. All right, and we know that it's going to open like this because the screws are on the sides that are going to touch the joist. And then we know, well, we don't know, but what we are going to know now is that the reason why it bends like this is so that you can get it up into the hole pretty easily. And then the other nice thing is that it has these arrow that tells you like which way is up, okay? Now I'm going to hop up top and we're going to work on getting those tabs to fit between the joist and the drywall so that once we screw everything in place, the bracket can't raise up. That way, when you put the fan in and you're working, it's not flexing as much. It keeps it nice and solid.
Everything you're seeing here can be completed from below, provided the existing duct and wiring are reachable. Access from above can make those connections easier, but it isn't required. Here's the relationship that matters. These 4 tabs do not go underneath the drywall. They slide underneath the joists and remain above the drywall. The screws secure the bracket to the framing, while these tabs keep the bracket from lifting when I push the fan housing into place later.
This is definitely the hardest part of this job, okay? The hardest part of this job is getting this in place, but if you take your time and you do it strategically, then it's going to make everything else work out good. Now, one thing hopefully you can see from there is you see how I've got a nice exposure on both sides, but I don't want to have one side more exposed than the other. I need to make sure that everything is sort of even on both ends because I'm going to need to see the entire span. I can't just leave a little. I need to see everything. Hopefully you can get a visual of that tab. It's going to go under the joist above the drywall, and it's going to notch in there. And once we get it in there, this is not going to raise up. It's not going to feel as flimsy. So let's check this out. One of the hard parts is getting the leverage. You, when you're doing this, should just move the ladder around so that you can get to where you have most leverage with your good arm and so forth. That way you can get everything in there nice and snug. All right. Go ahead. Okay. I'm gonna get under there if I can get this one down good. And that's the other thing. You want to make sure everything is nice and flat. This is the hard one for me because of the ladder in my right arm and stuff. I got this. One thing you might have noticed when I was putting the bracket in is that there was one part that I was sort of struggling with. Now, this may happen to you too because there might be a toilet in the way, there might be a vanity in the way, something that's going to prevent you from being able to get the leverage that you want. So here's a little trick that I learned. I have this ratchet type screwdriver and I use the DeWalt #1, and that gives me the ability to get to that difficult. Let me show you actually. So you can kind of see how that one screw is still sort of popping out a little bit. And I wasn't really able to get good leverage on it. But with this from the inside, with a little bit of pressure and my wrist, I can blindly, sort of slowly, get it tamped down until it's nice and snug and tight. And that way, I don't have to really ever worry about it again. There you go.
Before moving on, I'm checking 3 things. All 4 tabs are captured underneath the joist, the bracket sits flat and doesn't lift, and both long mounting slots are visible through the opening. If those 3 things are true, the bracket is ready for the next assembly.
I've kind of got a little bit off, but I think I'm okay because I like how this one looks. And the little trick that I've also learned is, hey, if you don't get it perfect, then you can always trim a little after the fact, right?
I'm cutting just outside the template line to give myself access to the bracket slot, but I'm not creating an oversized opening. The lower flange still needs solid drywall beneath it.
Let's see how solid this feels. All right, let me give you a good look at this. And you can just see how I've got exposure to my screw hole here. Hopefully you can. I don't know, I gotta get the right angle. As well as here. And I think everything from this point is going to go in nicely. The next step is going to be to get this all wired up.
Before touching any wiring, shut off the breaker and verify that these wires are de-energized with a voltage tester.
Now I've already opened this one, and this is on the top of the electrical housing. And then the electrical housing has a cover that has another port. And I'm going to show you how to open it. It's super duper simple. You just need to take the screwdriver, fit it into the slot, and just give it a couple little bends and you'll start hearing it break off. And it's basically just like a perforated little piece of metal, so it comes off nice and easy. And there's your second port.
Bring each incoming cable through an approved connector installed in the housing knockout. Don't route cable through an unprotected metal opening. Don't rely on wire color alone. First identify which incoming cable controls the fan and which one controls the light. I'm wiring the light-equipped FV-0511VFL1. If you have the fan-only FV-0511VF1, the bracket and housing install essentially the same way, but you'll have fewer electrical connections. Don't let the number of wires throw you off. There are only 3 jobs here: grounding, fan power, and light power. Step 1 is grounding. The fan has 1 green wire, and the 2 incoming cables each have a bare copper ground. Join the green wire and both bare copper wires together under one approved connector. Next is the fan circuit. Connect the fan's black lead to the switched black wire identified for the fan, and connect the fan's white lead to that cable's identified neutral. Finally, the light circuit. Connect the light's white lead to the identified light neutral. In this installation, I'm joining the black and blue light leads to the switched black wire for the light. That means the main LED and night light will both operate from the same wall switch. If you want the night light controlled separately, you'll need a different switching arrangement. If you only see one set of wires coming into your existing fan, or you have a fan with no light and you are adding a fan with a light, you may have to connect all grounds together, all whites together, and all blacks, and the blue together. Once each connector is tight, give every wire a gentle tug, fold the connections neatly into the box, and reinstall the cover. If your house wiring doesn't match this exact arrangement, stop and follow the wiring diagram supplied with your model, or bring in an electrician.
Bop, bop. All right, so you can see how now that looks nice and clean. Whoops. I've got my light and my fan. And now I'm ready to do the ducting. All right, I've just got an old piece of 4-inch flex duct here that I'm going to use to show you how I do this. And typically that ducting would be coming from the ceiling, of course.
The box also includes a 3-inch reducer. Use it when you have an existing 3-inch duct that cannot reasonably be replaced. Otherwise, maintain the full 4-inch connection to reduce resistance and give the fan its best chance of delivering the selected airflow.
All right, so once you get it on, before you tension tie it, we just want to make sure that the damper opens and that the ducting is expanded nicely and isn't crumpled up or crimped up, and it's going to create any problems with airflow or with the damper opening. All right. Nice thing about the zip tie tool is it has this little cutter, so once you get it tied down, you can just cut it right off and keeps it nice and neat.
This assembly goes in first because this is where the duct and house wiring connect. Installing the motor housing first would block the access you need to complete those connections.
I'm ready for the next step, which is also an important step with an important detail. I want you to see that it has this kind of bottom edge, and then it has the 2 screw holes. And it's going to be really important that that bottom edge is underneath the drywall when you screw it in to the Flex Z Easy bracket. And that's why it's really important to get that exposure like I was talking about, so that you can make sure that you hit that bracket. You just want to make sure you have a clear path. Because if you can't see, then you know if you have a clear path that you can find where that screw hole is. And the nice thing about it, remember, it's a nice long line. You don't have to hit a small little area. So it's forgiving and it actually allows you some flexibility.
Secure this duct and electrical assembly to the Flex Z fast bracket with both self-drilling screws before bringing up the motor housing.
And it's nice and snug. So now we'll take the actual housing, we'll find our guide rails. Here, let's just give you. Oh, we've got the 2 guiders here. So they're going to slide sort of into these metal slots that are on the housing of the electrical. And there's a little hole, a little square hole in the housing for the electrical. Let me show you right now. And that's where this tab should find its way and sit right on the edge so that once it's in there, you can actually go ahead and use the other 2 screws to get the housing secured into place. And then this is going to sit on that edge. So let's see how this goes.
Align both guide rails, support the metal housing, and push upward on the plastic motor housing until the locking tab clicks into the adapter. If it does not click, don't keep forcing it. Recheck the guide rails and make sure the adapter flange is still below the drywall. Once the locking tab engages, install the remaining 2 self-drilling screws to secure the motor housing.
There you have it. And now that everything is done and in place and we feel good about that, there's the next important step. And it's a reason why Panasonic puts this in a special package and puts it in a special place, because it needs to get done.
Before closing the assembly, install the small machine screw from the labeled package. This screw bonds the 2 metal housings for ground continuity, so do not skip it. Tighten it securely before connecting the fan plug.
Let's see if I can get you. You see how that went in there nicely?
The final step is to plug the fan motor into its electrical connector. Next, hook the grill springs into one of the 2 slots and let the grill hang while you connect the light. Once both connections are made, compress the springs and push the grill straight up until it sits snug and flush against the ceiling. One of the nice things about this Panasonic fan is that you can choose between 50, 80, or 110 cubic feet per minute. A useful sizing rule is about 1 cubic feet per minute per square foot of bathroom floor area, with a minimum of 50 cubic feet per minute. Choose the next available setting that meets or exceeds the room's requirement. Once the fan is properly sized, duct diameter, duct resistance, and the exterior termination often matter more than agonizing over 80 versus 110 cubic feet per minute.
And there you have it.
Your Panasonic WhisperFit is installed. If this video helped make the Flex Z bracket easier to understand, give it a like and subscribe. And if you still have a question about your installation, leave it in the comments. I check them, and your question may help shape the next video.